Hello everyone, this video will be a little different because I didn't create an upholstered sofa design to show you all for the upcoming competition. Instead, I hosted a community build showcase event, which I've done several times in the past. And that's where I have several people submitted design to me that I will then showcase to you all in this video, and also in my Discord. There will be a specific channel with all those submissions. And by the end of the week, shortly after the competition ends, I would hope by then that you all vote for the one that you like the most or you found the most helpful. It's going to be pretty competitive because these designs are all really good. So before I show you all the designs, I'm just going to do a quick recap on the upcoming competition details. For those of you who aren't aware, we will be doing Upholstered Sofa, which is a new item. This is similar to uniforms. I would say it's kind of similar to even Blue Steel because you do require mines in order to complete the product, and we will go over the crafting recipes here and such. But the cash boost are going to be fabric yard from 23,000 to 120,000, and super glue from 19,150 to 98,850. Both of these items are like higher tier items, so it's not going to be very easy for most people to do this as a cash rush, which means most people are probably going to end up doing gold as a cash rush. We're back to the reliable gold. And of course, Upholstered Sofa has its stars boosted all the way to 150,000, so that will for sure be the meta. The biome we are starting with is a plains biome facing north with a river on the east side, and there is an oil seep located closer to the west side, as you see right there. There is no desert edge, which is unfortunate because you will want sand mines in order to craft silica for the glass bottles that will be required for this meta. Trade time is the standard 60 seconds, 1 gasoline per trade, and the rewards for this competition will be the standard Gala rewards. Now let's talk about the 3 new recipes. One of them is fabric yard. It requires 1 cotton yarn, 1 wool yarn, 2 energy, and 2 crude oil, and it's crafted in the fabric plant with a craft time of 3 minutes. This one's interesting because it has a crude oil craft requirement, and we really haven't had that since gasoline and jet fuel. I mean, it's been a long time since we've had a competition where you actually used crude oil for the meta item. Now, I know a lot of people use crude oil to make gasoline, of course, but I'm just saying part of the actual meta item and not part of gasoline. This is pretty unusual. So this is pretty similar to making uniforms. It just doesn't require as much cotton yarn. So this actually leads you to needing a lot of wool, more wool than you would need for a uniforms build. And the next recipe is super glue, which requires 3 eggs, 1 crude oil, and 1 glass bottle. Once again, another recipe that requires crude oil, which is unusual. And you also need a glass bottle to store the super glue in. That's also a little unusual for a different reason, not to mention the eggs that you need. But anyways, that's a craft recipe. It's crafted in the stationary shop with a craft time of 3 minutes and 20 seconds, which is also a high craft time. Now, the great thing is that they do give us the oil seep, so you definitely want to take advantage of it. Even if you happen to have an NFT that gives you passive crude oil, you might still want to go with the oil seep. It really just depends on your setup. And of course, you got the Upholstered Sofa, which I might just call it Sofa moving forward. It's going to require 2 super glue, 4 fabric yard, and then 5 pieces of wood. Now, the lumberjacks and the loggers can take the wood directly to the art and decor shop where the sofa is crafted, so you don't have to worry about having a wood storage at the end of your design. And I should mention the fabric yard is stored in the warehouse, whereas the super glue and the sofa are stored in the storehouse. Very strange for the sofa to be stored in the storehouse, but okay. Now, with the competition details out of the way, in my Discord, if you haven't joined it already, I have a link in the description for the Dub community Discord. I have a channel called Upholstered Sofa Build Showcase event. Now, the name of this channel will probably change by the next time I do one of these community build showcase events because I just put them all in the same channel. Here's the posts I made when the update went live. Community build showcase event, Upholstered Sofa. I'm not going to go all the qualifications here, but of course you can read them. I only wanted a limit of 10 people to submit an entry, which is why I asked people people to let me know if they're going to do an entry for this. Of course, they still needed to meet the deadline approximately. So there happened to be 2 people that didn't meet the deadline, and there was 2 other people that had already submitted something that they were only going to be able to get in this event if somebody didn't meet that deadline. So they managed to get in this event. So we have 10 builds to showcase right here. I can't really spend too much time on them or else this video is going to be very long. So I am going to recommend that you properly check these builds out for yourself on the Discord so you can get the entire information. But only certain NFTs were allowed, those that are either easy to get or can't be removed, like enchanted ornaments or enchanted fireworks, which in some cases may help with the wages, and I hope these people did clarify that, but they may not have, but that's not necessarily, you know, required. It's still okay to do. And the prizes for this, we will have the top 3 most voted designs win an alchemy stand, and then there's a couple of extra prizes that I'll give out just via a random spin. Thanks to Red Fox, by the way, for providing 2 of those NFTs. Appreciate that. And here's the 10 entries for the community build showcase event. I have them all listed right here. The order doesn't really matter, it's just ordered by whatever I validated first and then put on here. But you can click on these to directly go to that one, but we'll start from 1 and go all the way to 10. There's a couple of things to consider before casting your vote. So the first entry right here is by PB2 from Dub. Production rate of this one is 20.15 per hour. Build cost is about 14.6 mil. Now most of these people do have a note. I'm not going to read the entire note. I will leave that for you to read. And this time I decided not to write my own notes. I'll just do a quick explanation here while I'm doing these and looking at these once again. But I did already look at all of these for a couple of minutes. They are all pretty dang unique. Some similarities, of course, because you kind of have to. I mean, you kind of have to take advantage of the oil seep here. But what you will notice about most of these is that, of course, there are a lot of sheep pens and meadows to get all that wool. And they're usually next to the river, of course, for the passive water, and that's also where you have your tree farms. I did notice that PB2 had most of their tree farms like condensed in one of the corners. I mean, I know there's like 2 tree farms over here as well, but yeah, they had most of the tree farms condensed. Of course, they had a couple of cotton fields, but yeah, it's about a 20 per hour rate for sofas. They had their sand mines and mines kind of close together here, which is as you would expect, and gasoline setup, of course, right next to the oil seep. Like I mentioned, those will be similar. Now they did use Express Depot and a Town Hall and the Oopsie 23 as well, which increases the cash you gain from selling goods by 5%. So that does help alleviate some of the cash deficits that you might see on some of these designs because of the high wages from all the buildings. And here's the visualizer. And of course, all of these will have the visualizer linked if you want to download it yourself. Now we'll look at entry number 2 by Tati from Gem. Production rates at 20.6 per hour. Build cost is about 14.8 mil per hour. Room for improvement, of course, as mentioned with a couple of these. They also mentioned the auto sell for a couple of these as well. So Tati is using Express Depot, Town Hall, Oopsie 23, and Buddy the Dog. Buddy the Dog doesn't do anything since there's no lumberjacks here, but just to mention them, of course, for those designs that are using the Town Hall here, it does help out a bit with the 10% crowd time reduction for the wood from the tree farms. So that is good. It's a pretty easy NFT to get, which is why I allow that one. Now I know Tati and somebody else has the special orange towns, as you can see here. That's kind of unique. They actually did manage to run this for 5 hours, so they have a good stable production rate right here. And they have some of the sheep pens and the tree farms close to the river. I know not everybody did that because it does require some of your workers to walk farther away to get there, but it makes sense because you have the 5 passive water from the river. Now I was looking at this screenshot for a good minute now, but this is pretty interesting. They have their gas setup split, so the oil seep is providing passive crude oil to the refinery making petroleum, and then it gets stored over here where the fuel storage is and picked up by the refinery all the way over here making gasoline. That does work. I wouldn't do that, but it does work, which is a cool thing to do. And here is the last angle of the design and their visualizer. Entry number 3 by X Ghost. Production rate's about 20 per hour. Build cost is about 17.4 mil per hour. This one is 100% NNR, so no NFTs used for this test. And he does state that it is cash positive with a few extra fabric yard, keeping it cash positive. And it can be improved by adding one more sheep pen. So here we are. Now this one is the one where he has the sheep pen on the south edge, not next to the river exactly, except for a few of these sheep pen. But most of these tree farms are next to the river edge for that passive water, and the sheep pen just have the extra ponds. So that allows him to have the meadows on the edge, which is completely fine because the sheep can just go to those. You don't have to worry about the ATVs going all the way to the edge to pick up the wool, so it works fine. And this one does have the gas setup pretty close. That refinery is making petroleum. This one's making gasoline. Not a lot of roads either, but just the essential ones right here. And here's what the visualizer file looks like. Now, of course, all of these have enough power plants to provide passive energy to the mines as well as the sand mines and the fabric plants. So that's why you have several power plants spread around. Entry number 4 by Beastie. Production rate is a little over 22 per hour. Build cost is a very high 35.6 million per hour, just about. The build cost is the highest here, but the production rate is the highest as well from all the 10 that I will show you here. So there are a lot of notes, and he even does say that it can get to 23 per hour by making an adjustment, but then it would be cash negative without the use of any NFTs. So that's why he kept it at about 22.3 per hour. Now, of course, with all of these, some of the buildings do have to be rotated a specific way, and he does mention that in his notes as well. Actually, he did use the Express Depot, but we know that that one really doesn't provide anything versus what a no NFT required design would. So here is the first screenshot with that sofa rate right here. He also has the kind of the same setup as X Ghost, where he has a good chunk of the trees next to the river, and on the south edge he has the sheep pens with additional ponds providing the passive water to them. And then on that edge he just has mostly meadows, so only the sheep have to go for them. So it is somewhat similar. I would say Beasties has even less roads than X Ghost, just to make that comparison. And of course, instead of the power plants, he's using 2 nuclear power plants, which is where the high build costs comes from, and I suppose probably the high wages. So it's as expected. The more expensive you get this because you made nuclear power, so it's more space conserving, the higher production rate you should be able to do. Now, I do know that Beastie does have his own YouTube channel, and I am gonna assume that he will post a video about this design as well, where he'll be able to talk more about it in depth than I am right here, since I'm only spending about 1 to 2 minutes talking about each design. So I would recommend you go and find his YouTube channel. If you're watching this Beastie, feel free to leave it in the comments. It's completely fine, and he can provide a more in-depth explanation about this design. But here's the visualizer file for it, of course. Entry number 5 by Darkus. Production rate is very close to 18 per hour. Build cost is close to 14 million, might be the lowest of the build cost possibly. He did say by adding a sheep pen you can get it up to 18.5, just a final tweak he figured out. And he's using the Express Depot and the Town Hall in this one. So here we are, kind of the same setup with the tree farms over here close to the river. The sheep pens are kind of erratic and spread around, but it still works. Gives him the wool that he needs to make this work. One long road here on that is the west edge. Got 2 depots next to each other. A couple more roads over here to create some kind of square setup. The mines are kind of like apart, which is interesting. So he has the gasoline setup right here, and these power plants are providing the energy for those mines, and the fabric plants over here. And then over here just has the other power plant to provide the rest of the energy for the sand mines, the mines, and these fabric plants. And this one's pretty bright, so it might be hard to see some things here, but here is what the visualizer looks like. Entry number 6 by Sashi. Production rate's about 20 per hour. Build cost is about 15.4 million. No NFT required. Of course, none used. It does explain some of the auto cells, but you could also implement a town hall. There is space for that. Now here's the pictures. Might have to zoom in a little bit, but when I zoom in, it kind of zooms in a little too much. The gas setup is as expected right here, like I usually do them. It's got a cool logger neighborhood, so all the loggers are next to each other. All the tree farms and sheep pens close to the river as expected, so your meadows are kind of more in the center right here. And the road setup consists of just one big rectangle, which is completely fine. It does look pretty symmetrical, as symmetrical as you can get it. So yeah, here's what it looks like on the visualizer. This looks clean. And here's that empty spot on the side where you would put that town hall. Entry number 7 by Samiata, I believe is how you pronounce it. Production rate's close to 20 per hour as well. Build cost is about 14.8 million. No additional notes provided, but the NFTs used were the Express Depot, Town Hall, and the Oopsie 23. And here are the pictures. So gas setup is, yeah, pretty much standard right there. Provides passive energy to the mines, the fabric plants nearby, and the sand mines. All the trees and sheep pens, of course, close to the river. Also has the town hall right here. I thought I was using it to provide one passive water to the tree farm, but no, looks like the pond is already doing that. It has like 2 main roads right here with Run Road connecting both of them. I did notice his cash is kind of low, so I'm not exactly sure if this one is cash positive or negative. He didn't really elaborate that to me, but I would assume it's gonna be cash positive with the Oopsie. Once again, I'm not completely sure, but here it is. There's what the visualizer file looks like. Entry number 8 by Juxie's T from Dub. Production rates is 20.8 per hour, very close to 21 per hour. Build cost is about 16.6 million. Layout makes 20 per hour without any NFT. Now I know he was going to test 2 different designs. There was a second one where he used the town hall, so that does help with the production rate a little bit because it helps with the wood. He did include that on the visualizer, so I have 2 pictures of the visualizer here, but we'll just take a look at the pictures of the no NFT design. So I have the screenshots of the production monitor first. As you can see, Sofa's at 20.8 per hour. Here's the other items, and here's the screenshots of just the build. I got the standard gas setup right here. Sheep pens close to the river, but not right next to them, so you got your meadows touching the river and meadows over here as well. So the tree farms are close to everything else right here, which is a little bit different than what the other people did, but that does work. That way you don't have any of your workers going all the way to the 2 rows next to the river. Only the sheeps have to go there for the meadows. So yeah, that's good. Road design right here, rectangle with another road in between those. Now here's what the visualizer looks like without any NFTs. And on his visualizer file on the second stage, he will have the ones where he has the town hall, Oopsie, and the Express Depot. It does shift some of the buildings around, so I'm going to go back to the no NFT one. A little bit of shifts, but I believe he didn't have time to completely test this one. It probably should do like maybe 1 more per hour. But yeah, it's provided in the visualizer just in case you wanted to try this idea as well. Entry number 9 by Lexel from NLO. Production rate's about 20 per hour. Build cost is about 14.5 million. He does mention with the ornament set, it's about 10.8 million. Of course, it's 25% cheaper. Production rate's over 18.5 for sure. He does explain a little bit about the cash rush strategy as well, and some options you could use to tweak this further with blueprints, of course. Use some NFTs such as Express Depot, Town Hall, Buddy the Dog, and of course fireworks and ornaments. It's completely fine. Sofas right here, sofa rates. Town hall is like in the middle here. Sheep pens right next to the river. That makes sense. Got a lot of meadows in between. Oh, he does have the tree farms and the cotton fields like in the center basically with some more sheep pens. So that's cool. Only 1 main road right here, then just a couple spotted roads. So there's not like a whole lot of roads going on here, just the important one. Power plants in the corner right here with the mines. And that means his gasoline setup's like right here. So like that refinery would be making petroleum. petroleum, and that one will be making gasoline. Okay, and the fuel storage is right there. Not the standard setup for the gasoline, but that makes sense. Everything there works. Now I assume this also means that this tree farm and this cotton field are not going to be on a green crop timer just because they would have shade and dirty. And here's the last angle of the design and the visualizer file. And finally, entry number 10 by Team Storm NFTs. Production rate is 21 per hour. Build cost is about 15.9 million. He has some additional notes about how to set up the auto cell to have this work at the best efficiency, I suppose. And he only used the express depot for these. So right here, you can see the production rates, sheep pens, and a few tree farms right next to the river. Then you got 5 rows of the meadows with the chicken coops in between. Express depots right here also, but it won't cast any dirty on any of the animals. It's just far enough. And then you have your other row of sheep pens with the ponds for the passive water, and then the tree farms. So yeah, these last 3 were kind of similar to what they did, having the tree farms in the middle. But you can tell that everybody did something a little bit differently. I mean, like I said at the beginning, there are some similarities, but that's to be expected, especially with the oil seep being in a very specific location, and you do want to take advantage of it, since some of your fabric plants and your stationery shops will want that passive crude oil. And here's that last angle. One of the other production rates that were missing for the wood and wool yarn, and the visualizer file right here. So out of all these designs, most people use power plants. Only one person used nuclear power to reach that higher production rate, but that's cool because it shows us the difference that can be done if you save a little bit more space by using nuclear power. And that is all the 10 entries. Once again, thank you all these people for submitting an entry in time and following the qualifications to get this to work. Of course, this channel will be public as soon as this video goes live, and you'll be able to view them here yourself in better detail. And you can vote right away if you want, or wait until the competition ends and vote then. But about 9 hours after the competition ends is roughly when I'll take a screenshot of the votes, and that'll be the final tally. So what I'm going to do here on the background, I suppose, since it's going to take a minute, is just react with all the numbers. And if you want to vote for number 1, you would put number 1. Of course, I'm gonna have to put them all here, and Discord's being pretty laggy right now, so let me do this first. And there we go, you'll find the buttons here now. And I also wanted to mention, I believe Team Storm NFTs also does a video on their no NFT design, so you can go ahead and check that out for more information if you want. So Beastie and Team Storm NFTs, and maybe anybody else who happens to make the video on their own design, you can feel free to share it on the comments so people can check it out, or just share it on my Discord. That's completely fine. I have a dedicated channel for Townstar videos for anybody that wants to post your Townstar related videos on here too. But yes, that's all the designs for this community build showcase event. Very impressive overall from everybody, and I hope these designs give you some inspiration on your own design, whether it be for this upcoming competition or a future upcoming competition. There's always a good amount to learn from other people's techniques, especially since if you only watch my build showcases, I stay away from doing subgrid placement. I know it's better to do it, but I don't try to fully optimize my designs on purpose, because I'm not trying to make them overpowered. But of course, most of these people are using subgrid placement to optimize this as much as possible, so that's why you'll see some very impressive rates here. Overall, almost everybody's rate was close to 20 per hour, so that seems to be a very good rate for no NFTs required. If you're not making at least 20 per hour on the next competition, then you might have a hard time getting top 1200, so keep that in mind. But at least 20 per hour, you should be good. And that's all there is to share. So if you found this helpful, please leave a like, leave a comment, consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. If you want to help support the channel, you can find links in the description on how to do so. And as always, I appreciate your support, and thank you for watching.